Kid Cudi is an American rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, and producer. With 10 studio albums and nearly 2 decades in the game, he's built a loyal fan base and carved out a sound that doesn't fit neatly into any one box. Today, we're diving into the career of Scott Raymond Seguro Mescudi, better known as Kid Cudi. Now, let's get into it. The 1980s. Hip-hop was just starting to blossom with artists like Run DMC, Public Enemy, and NWA. Our story begins on January 30th, 1984. Scott Mescudi was born in Cleveland, Ohio, the youngest of 4 children. His childhood seemed fairly normal until tragedy struck in 1995 when his father passed away. Scott was only 11, and that loss would cast a shadow that deeply influenced his future music. The 2000s. An era where popular rap music leaned towards either gangster rap or pop rap, with artists like 50 Cent, Ludacris, Eminem, Nelly, and Jay-Z. However, around this time, Kanye West dropped his debut album, The College Dropout. Then, in 2005, he dropped Late Registration. Both albums had storytelling and music that was different from what was popular at that time. Kanye's music would have an impact on Kid Cudi's music. In 2004, Cudi left Ohio and moved to New York to pursue music. He moved in with his uncle Khalil Mahdi, who was a jazz musician that played drums. Cudi later moved in with his friend and producer Dot the Genius, where they would work on music together. Also in 2004, Cudi was in a Virgin Megastore where he saw Kanye West for the first time. As Cudi recounted in a 2009 Spin interview,
at Virgin Music Store, and I was looking at CDs that I couldn't buy, and and he was standing right next to me looking at CDs.
That he could buy.
And then that he could buy, and he had this exact chain on, and I remember seeing it, and I don't know, corner of my eye was like gleaming, and I was like, and I saw him, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, Kanye West, I had just moved to New York, I'm from Cleveland.
How many years
We don't
ago
see
was this?
celebrities unless it's like concert.
How long ago was this?
2004.
Okay.
Cudi said, adding that he introduced himself and offered Kanye some of his music. Kanye politely refused, but Cudi said he was undeterred. I said, we'll be working together one day soon. 2 years later, in 2006, Cudi would see Kanye again, this time in a Bape store in New York where he had worked. Then 2 years after that, in 2008, Cudi released a mixtape, A Kid Named Cudi, featuring songs like Down and Out, Man on the Moon, The Prayer, and his hit single, Day and Night. And I remember when this song dropped, and me and a good friend in college were bumping this in his car. And it was like nothing I'd ever heard. The perfect song for a loner that spends time alone. Anyways, Cudi's manager, Plain Pat, sent his mixtape to Kanye. And that same year, Kanye signed Cudi to his Good Music label. And in November, Kanye West tapped Cudi to help produce the album 808s and Heartbreak, a darker album than his usual music, and mostly because of Kid Cudi's work in producing the beats. The success of this album would change hip-hop in a way that allowed artists to be more vulnerable in their music. In September of 2009, Cudi released his debut studio album, Man on the Moon, The End of Day, featuring songs Day and Night, Soundtrack to My Life, and Pursuit of Happiness, which was another one of his songs I played non-stop for about 2 years, to which the music video featured a young and upcoming Drake. The song would also be remixed by Steve Aoki and turn into a global party song for years, especially after being featured in the movie Project X in 2012. Anyways, back to his album. Man on the Moon has this futuristic fever dream sound to it, where Cudi walks through his story of a loner/spaceman trapped by his thoughts and living an almost careless life, experimenting with drugs. However, track 15, named Up Up and Away, has a more upbeat feel to it that leaves the listener with a better outlook on life. Cudi's fame was growing by the day, appearing on the red carpet at the American Music Awards.
Day and night, I toss and turn. I am here with Kid Cudi, and I cannot get that song out of my head. I absolutely love it. You're up for Breakthrough Artist of the Year. How does that feel?
I feel grand, it's really overwhelming. I'm really just happy to be, recognized for my work because I put a lot into it, man. This album is like 2 or 3 years in the making,
And it is hot. I know everyone is singing that song.
Even performing Pursuit of Happiness on The Late Show with David Letterman.
Our next guest is a popular rapper whose forthcoming CD right here is entitled Man on the Moon, The End of Day. Please welcome, with special guest Rat-a-tat, Kid Cudi.
Also in 2009, Cudi appeared in the Black Eyed Peas music video, I Got a Feeling, partying alongside David Guetta. And this is where they would meet for the first time. The 2010s. The era where party rap music was everywhere. Songs like Let It Fly by Mano and Roscoe Dash, No Hands by Waka Flocka, and Show Me by Chris Brown and Kid Ink. And there wasn't a single club or party that you could go to where this song wasn't being played. Also, EDM was growing as well. So in 2010, a year after meeting David Guetta on the Black Eyed Peas music video, Cudi and Guetta would release their hit song Memories, a song about partying and doing wild things and keeping the memories. Does anyone else remember making bad decisions at parties when this song played during those times? I know I sure do. I guess you could say they're trapped in my memories. Anyways, I'm moving on. In January of 2010, Cudi won a Grammy for his hit song Day and Night. Also in 2010, Cudi guest starred in the show How to Make It in America. His character was a guy named Domingo that sold weed and walked dogs as a side hustle. Then in November 2010, Cudi released his album Man on the Moon 2, The Legend of Mr. Rager, featuring songs like Rev of Rev, Erase Me, and Trapped in My Mind. This album definitely took a darker turn, exploring depression, loneliness, and the battle within oneself. In promotion of the album, Cudi performed Rev of Rev on The Conan Show.
Song from his latest album, Man on the Moon 2, The Legend of Mr. Rager. Please welcome Kid Cudi.
In 2011, the movie Fright Night released in theaters, and Cudi dropped the song No One Believes Me as part of the soundtrack. And the music video was quite bizarre yet intriguing, with Cudi walking around the neighborhood as vampires devoured the neighbors. And it had a slight twist at the end. Then in 2012, Cudi and Dot the Genius released a collab album, WZRD, or Wizard, featuring songs like The Dream Time Machine, Break, and Teleport to Me. In 2013, Cudi dropped the album Indicud, featuring songs like King Wizard, Girls, and Just What I Am, which featured King Chip. And this music video was fitting for the theme at the time, featuring Cudi and King Chip at a party just drinking and having a good time with red cups in their hands. Now after these two albums dropped, Cudi fans were wondering when Man on the Moon 3 was going to be released. So in August of 2013, Cudi tweeted out Man on the Moon 3 2015, which meant that the album would be pushed back for another couple of years. So fans at this point would just have to wait. So in 2014, Cudi released Satellite Flight, The Journey to Mother Moon, featuring songs like Satellite Flight and Ballman Jeans. Also in 2014, the movie Need for Speed released in theaters, starring Aaron Paul and Cudi. He dropped a song called Hero along with the movie, which is one of those late night driving kind of songs that I would blast when I just wanted to be alone with my thoughts. In December 2015, he dropped the album Speeding Bullet to Heaven. The album cover features Cudi standing in a lean position with the background swirling around him, which will become memeable later. Also, probably captures the mood of the album perfectly. It had more of an indie rock sound to it than previous albums. Yet still, no Man on the Moon 3 and Speeding Bullet to Heaven didn't get a great reception, but Cudi addressed it over Twitter, saying, "Newsflash, Man on the Moon 3 doesn't exist. It's just a title. It will be nothing like any of my previous work, just like all my releases. My first 2 albums were meant to be untopped. I didn't even think I'd live to make another record after Man on the Moon 2. My point is, you can't top Timeless, and that is what we aim for every time." Which meant fans would have to wait. Also in 2015, Cudi dropped a song called Love, a song that went under the radar for a while, a song telling the listener not to feel down being alone and to keep pushing on. Then in October of 2016, Cudi checked into rehab for depression and thoughts of self-harm. Fans were concerned for him and outpoured love and support. However, he dropped one of his greatest albums in December of 2016, which is Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying, with songs like Frequency, By Design, and Surfin'. This is probably one of my favorite later Kid Cudi albums, just based on the songs. Surfin' is an absolute banger when you feel like having a good time to yourself. And By Design has great wordplay and lyrics. In April 2018, Cudi released the song Rage, which went with the Rampage movie soundtrack. And it's another banger of a song that plays rent-free in my head from time to time. Also in 2018, Cudi and Kanye dropped Kid Cudi Ghosts, a collaboration album featuring songs like Feel the Love, Fire, and Reborn, which in my opinion is the best song on the album. Then in 2020, Cudi finally gave fans what they wanted and dropped Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen. And finally, after 10 long years, like waiting on that Dr. Dre album. Speaking of which, don't you ever, and I mean ever, forget about Dr. Dre. Now back to the video. Man on the Moon 3, which came out during the perfect time, because the pandemic from C-19 had the world sitting at home trying not to cough on each other. But everything got better for Cutter fans when this album dropped, because it had bangers like Mr. Solo 3, Dive, and The Void, one of those songs that I just played non-stop in my room during the pandemic. Then in 2022, Cudi dropped the album Intergalactic, which went along with the animated story, also called Intergalactic, a love story in which he plays a character called Jabari. The album features songs like Willing to Trust, Ignite the Love, and New Mode. In 2024, Cudi dropped the album Insano, an album featuring collaborations with Lil Yachty, A$AP Rocky, and Travis Scott, with songs like Get Off Me, Porsche Topless, and Blue Sky. As of 2025, Cudi released an album called Free, which, having listened to it, sounds like a more mature Speeding Bullet to Heaven, with a more mature Cudi that's grown into himself mentally and spiritually. And what I've always respected about him is that he's not afraid to try new sounds and experimental beats. He's also an innovator in putting his feelings in his music that used to be taboo in rap and hip-hop, putting his battles with anxiety, depression, and feelings of loneliness out there for people to listen to and judge. And I hope he continues to drop music in the future, and I look forward to watching him grow. Anyways, that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe for more content. This concludes another episode of The Voice of Rhino.